As the UK braces for inevitable tax hikes in the coming months, the political calculus has become as clear as it is uncomfortable. The government will need to raise taxes to meet the increased costs of public spending, and the onus will fall squarely on the Chancellor to make the hard choices. Yet, as ministers scramble to find the right balance between fiscal responsibility and political survival, one thing is crystal clear. The direction this is heading in will require much more than the usual half-hearted adjustments. If the Chancellor is to succeed in the face of an increasingly hostile political climate, she must not shy away from robust reforms that address the deep-seated inequities in the UK's tax system. The uncomfortable reality is that taxes are going to rise, whether the political establishment likes it or not. The sooner the government comes to terms with this, the better. Ministers have spent too much time trying to delay the inevitable, clinging to outdated fiscal rules and pledges that no longer align with the current economic landscape. The global economy is in turmoil, and the UK is hardly immune. With trade tensions rising and the fallout from the US president's tariffs still being felt, the pressure on public finances has never been more intense. The Chancellor's reluctance to embrace necessary tax hikes is as politically naive as it is economically irresponsible. At this juncture, it would be reckless for the government to continue ignoring the elephant in the room, defense spending. Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves missed an opportunity last week to lay the groundwork for an open and honest discussion about the need for higher taxes. Instead, they opted for the safer, less controversial route, which will only delay the inevitable. By October, they will have no choice but to confront the hard truth. If Labour is serious about its long-term economic agenda, it must recognise that higher taxes will be essential to finance not just an increasingly expensive defence budget, but also the broader requirements of social care and public services. The path forward is clear. Reeves should focus on tax reforms that align with the realities of the current economic order. The debate around a wealth tax is largely a distraction, one that will lead nowhere fast. Instead, the Chancellor should consider a bold shift in the way wealth is taxed in this country, starting with pensions and capital gains tax. By addressing the vast inequities in the way wealth is treated, she can make a real impact on the national coffers while simultaneously pursuing social justice. Let's get one thing straight. Taxes should not just fall on the backs of the poorest. Labour has long championed a fairer system, but it has too often shied away from tough decisions when it comes to taxing the wealthiest in society. The top rate of income tax, paid by those earning above £125,140, is ripe for reform. It's time to level the playing field and ask those who have the most to contribute their fair share. Labour must embrace a policy that recognises the pressing need for wealth redistribution. The political ramifications may be intense, but they are necessary. Inaction, on the other hand, will come at a much higher cost. Meanwhile, the UK's council tax system, an outdated relic based on property values from 1991, is begging for reform. The inequality that exists within this system is staggering. A shake-up of council tax would not only bring in much-needed revenue but also help address some of the pressure on local authorities, particularly in areas like social care. A more equitable system would do much to relieve the burden on the country's most vulnerable communities. Stamp duty, another regressive tax, is also ripe for a refresh. There's no reason why the tax burden should continue to disproportionately affect the middle class while the wealthiest continue to avoid contributing their fair share. But perhaps the most important aspect of this discussion is the need for a clear, unequivocal message. The tax increases that Labour will likely have to implement should not be portrayed as a result of economic mismanagement or political cowardice. Instead, the government should present them as a direct response to the new economic world order ushered in by the US president's tariffs. This will provide a clear, coherent narrative that resonates with the public and deflects blame away from Labour's leadership. It will also allow the party to stand firm in the face of inevitable backlash, as voters will have a more concrete understanding of why these increases are necessary. If Labour is able to sell this as a Trump tax, it will not only resonate with the public but will also serve to pin the blame squarely where it belongs, with a reckless administration across the Atlantic that has destabilized the global economy. Ultimately, Labour's fiscal agenda must be grounded in reality. Starmer and Reeves can no longer afford to live in denial about the scale of the challenges the UK faces. Tax hikes are coming, and they must be embraced as part of a wider strategy to secure the future of public services and social care. The window for dithering is rapidly closing. If the Chancellor is serious about securing Labour's political future, she will need to be bold, unapologetic, and ready to make the tough decisions that others have been too scared to touch. This is a moment of reckoning for the party, and it will require leadership that is willing to take risks and fight for what is right, regardless of the political cost.